What's going on, everybody? Today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a different video here. I'm going to do a recap of 2023 and some of my biggest catches, some of my more favorite catches, and I'm going to do the stories behind the stories. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Hopefully you've enjoyed this past year, and we're looking forward to some bigger and better things next year. So either way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give my commentary on these videos, on a couple of just highlights from this year, and just tell you like what was going on, when that video happened, and some of my mishaps, some other things that was going through my mind, and some of the backstories behind it. So grab yourself a cup of coffee and let's get right down to it. All right, guys, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get started here. And dude, this very first video, this very first clip is by far my most memorable of the year. This was This is the first day of trout season up in Pennsylvania, and I did not expect this. Before I get into that fish too much, I'm going to talk about what that baby shark Band-Aid is doing on me. I had a really nasty, gross cut on my hand, and rather than showing everybody that for, an entire video, I just decided to find a waterproof Band-Aid and throw it on, and baby shark Band-Aid was all I had. So that's the whole reason that is there, because rather than showing you guys that for so long, anyway, so I use incredibly light gear when I'm fishing. I use 6-pound test. I have a 5.5-foot rod. I'm using some fairly small spinners usually, and so I'm just in this one of my favorite strips of stream in western Pennsylvania, and this thing just absolutely whacks at it. I thought this thing was stuck to the bottom. I wasn't sure if I caught the bottom. I wasn't sure if a catfish swam up into this strip of stream, and that's what hit. But when I saw this monster of a trout just come up towards the surface, I was floored. So all I could do was shout for my brother, shout for my dad, and as you can see right here, Alex, my brother, is going into the stream to go net this thing for me. He wasn't even wearing waders for this. He was wearing literally just some old hunting boots because he had some other business to attend to that day. So he was already out of his waders. And thank God for my brother in this situation. He's like, you know what? I'm not going to let this fish go. We're going to get this fish in a net here. And walks right into the stream in jeans and old hunting boots. But my dad was right behind us here, and he starts to take this video. And this is awesome because I'm not even, thinking of this whole thing. I'm so just trying to keep the line tight without it, without the trout going into this current and then ripping me off and breaking me off. I actually handed Alex my net there, and it was still attached to my back. So, Alex had to then reach up, take the whole thing off my back, and then he, headed out into the water to go smack this thing in. But we almost didn't even end up fishing this part of this stream at this time. This was such a lucky catch. We almost ended up at a completely different stream, but I think just based on the weather conditions, we decided to just stick with it. Keep catching some fish out of here because we were catching a good bit of fish this day. And I'm glad my brother didn't end up going and doing his business, whatever thing he had to do that day, because I'll tell you what, if I had to net this monster of a rainbow while I still had it on, I really don't think I would have been able to land this thing. But what went through my mind this entire time as we're trying to get this lure out and everything is, do I mount it? Do I release it? I don't want to eat it. Obviously, I'm not a huge fan of just eating the trout that I catch. I think people go a little too overboard with that. But hey, do your thing, whatever. Catch, release, do your thing. Gosh, that thing was amazing. That thing was gorgeous.
Oh my God, biggest trout.
Part of me still regrets just a little bit not throwing that thing on a mount, but hey, we got a good release to this thing, and we sent that thing off to live for at least another day, and maybe somebody else got to catch it and do whatever they wanted with it, but it was an awesome time. That was a great one. Look at him go. That was awesome. Too good.
Oh.
That was a beautiful catch. Boy, I sure hope these time frames are all linking up because I have to keep hitting pause. Anyway, in this next clip, I'm actually out on my one buddy's boat, who I met because his son is one of my old students who I taught down here in Virginia.
There we go.
And we just kind of ended up talking about fishing at some parent conferences, and it turns out that he's a fishing fanatic like me, and it ended up being a really cool friendship that we have. Every now and then he'll take me on his boat down to the Potomac, and he's a phenomenal bass fisherman, like absolutely wonderful at it. He does all these tournaments and whatnot. But what I'm using here is a lure that he actually got me for it was like Christmas or the last day of school or something like that. And never used the big spinner baits, never really had confidence in them until he just kind of showed me the ropes on his boat, and it ended up working out really well here. Luckily for this fish in particular, this is I believe, I want to say it's my personal best smallmouth, but luckily I didn't have 6-pound test on for this one. I had 8-pound test, a little bit of a heavier rod, still my ugly stick, but this thing was in the current there behind the boat, and I really had to kind of work it. But I kind of felt like Nick had he's using braid, he's using like really specific like big bass gear, so he's just cranking everything in with his bait casters, and there I am, having to really horse and fight these fish in. So I didn't end up breaking my line. But a lot of times what I'll do with some of these bigger fish is I actually leave that drag just a little bit looser. And people have made comments, I've seen the comments, hey, don't be reeling while they're peeling drag. And it's like, honestly, I kind of just keep my drag super loose just so I don't, break it off. I've had a couple of times where my drag was just a little bit too light set, and I ended up catching some pretty big fish, and the moment it jumps out of the water, that thing just snaps. It's happened to me a couple of times. So I prefer a looser drag, tight enough to set a good hook into them, but then you kind of have to fight them a little bit. But here I am, I'm just leaning on this thing. That current is taking it really far down, and Nick's waiting with the net right here, just kind of waiting to get it in the boat. I'm pretty sure his son was with us on this trip, and he's just fishing out behind us, kind of watching me fight over this fish for way too long to be fighting over a smallmouth, and I'm pretty sure Nick wasn't the happiest about that because, he's using braid and all that good stuff. But
there he comes.
We end up putting it in the boat. Absolutely awesome time.
Yeah.
Fantastic release on this thing. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like he was just kind of doing everything for me. I keep reaching for the lure, like, hey, I got it. And he's like, nah, I'll just take care of this for you.
Or just let us have you and get the hook out, bud.
Oh, and that thing was absolutely massive. Yeah. That thing was beautiful.
Woo! We were happy with him.
All right, next clip. Voice is cracking, and I'm not even going to edit it out because I don't want to. Next clip. This was a drive up into central Pennsylvania. I was spending some time back in Somerset, PA, where I live, back in western Pennsylvania, where I live. And I decided to make a trip into the Little Juniata. Very public place. I even said in the video where it was.
That is a beautiful.
Didn't play specific, but I was on the search for just some nice sized wild brown trout, and I was fishing for hours that day,
off the hook.
Not getting anything that I wanted to get. It was so frustrating. Eventually, I did link into one, and I ended up acting like some kind of a goober in this video. But luckily, I got into this thing, and this was my only actual catch of the day that I got all the way into my hand, and then I actually got to get a picture of. Caught a couple of smallmouth on that trip, but that was the one thing I was absolutely after. Next clip. Okay, this was a fun one. This was well, they're all fun ones, but this was my first legitimately nice sized smallmouth out of my kayak, my brand new kayak that I just bought specifically for fishing. I went back and forth on, do I want to get the kayak? Do I not want to get the kayak? It's an investment. It's, I decided to just go ahead and get the kayak. One of my favorite toys that I bought this year, and this was my first pretty nice sized smallmouth out of it, so I had to just throw this one in there. My buddy and I did a big float this day. It was like a 6 to 8 hour float on down the Shenandoah, and yeah, we ended up getting into them. Found a couple of really awesome holes, and that was the one thing that I didn't expect with the kayak is how much you can just float from one hole to the next and actually end up in a huge school of smallmouth. And yeah, this thing wasn't a monster, but it was my first legit smallmouth from the kayak, so that one was pretty special to me.
See you, buddy.
This one, this is a stream here in Northern Virginia that I've I've got some good love for that I've caught some really, really nice fish out of. This day, though, oh my gosh, this one was a muddy one. You're going to see my feet here in a bit, and I am in almost knee-deep muck at some points in this day. And I just decided to toss out a crayfish jig. I'm not getting anything on spinners. I caught like a couple of little bluegill, just some wee little fellas. And then I just throw out my crayfish jig, and this thing put on a really ripper of a largemouth. Incredibly happy with that catch. But yeah, it was not muddy and nasty. I had to sacrifice a pair of shoes for this one. A pair of socks. I mean, it just was what it was. But a pair of shoes for sure were lost to this day. And you get probably one of the most disgusting fish flops here of my year.
Beautiful largemouth.
I pulled him up into this bank. This thing was so nasty. I was sinking in all kinds of ways. I wanted to rinse him off more, but if I took any more steps in towards that stream, it was just not going to be good. So I got him rocking and rolling out of there. Beautiful largie. I was
not expecting this one today. Dude.
And a little tributary to the Potomac. And there's the fish flop. That was good.
Well, the muddiness.
Win some, you lose some.
See you, buddy.
Yeah, anyway. All right, so here is another one of my favorite strips of stream. It's a delayed harvest area where you can't keep the fish anyway, and this was my personal best on the fly rod, and I wasn't expecting to be able to get this. I am not proficient on the fly rod, but I keep trying to bring it with me, keep trying to have some fun with it, and yeah, I just let a little woolly bugger just kind of float on downstream and ended up getting a monster of a hit. Once again, my brother was further upstream of this one. So I'm trying to call him back, like yelling, Alex, come downstream, come downstream. I feel like every time I get a big fish on, I'm just shouting for somebody else. Like, hey, come check this out. If I don't land it, I at least want to see, like, you've seen this.
It's in there well.
If I do land it, we're taking a picture. But this was my biggest rainbow trout. This is my biggest trout on the fly rod. Everything else I've caught on the fly rod has been like some pretty small guys. But I was just happy to really get anything on. Had to get in the water just a little bit here in order to net him up. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Even that.
Oh my God.
We got that woolly bugger right out of him and then got a picture of him.
On the fly
Had to wear him down pretty good.
Holy cow.
It was a new tippet.
Down,
so it was a fairly low pound test, and I kind of had to find him pretty good on it. But I actually broke my rod the next day. So I'm so not good at fly fishing. The very next day that I went down here to try to catch some more fish just like this, I ended up breaking the rod. So I ended up getting a new rod, so that's a fun thing. So I'm able to keep playing with it. But
right out of him.
No, this is a really cool one. It definitely gave me a little bit of trouble getting that hook out. I just wanted to keep him in the water to make sure that
I'm gonna keep him in the water.
I was able to get a good picture with him and get him off swimming pretty good.
I haven't caught many fish like this in general, much less on the fly.
Absolutely gorgeous. I think what count is like a nice sized jack, like a steelhead.
Look at him.
Like a young steelhead, but no, it's all stalkers through this area.
Brilliant.
But dude, I love me some stock trout. Anybody who's talking about, you know, being elite, like not stock trout, I don't know what you're doing.
Get a picture.
Wild trout are awesome, but give me some stockies. I'm actually shaking during this because I was so excited to put this fish on.
Brown.
And I was just waiting for my brother to come on back and snap a quick picture, getting some bad footage in here, trying to get that good picture. There he is. Yeah, he made it downstream. It took him long enough. Kind of bust his chops for that and tell him, like, dude, you could have come down quicker.
Awesome.
Told him that he was lollygagging down, but we didn't get too happy when I told him that.
Buddy.
Ooh, okay. Another smallmouth trip. So this was a big long hike downstream, and this was a kind of a celebratory 300 subscriber video for me, or 350 subscriber video for me. And I'm fishing this beautiful stream out in western Pennsylvania, just a really great rocky bottom. I walked about half mile to a mile downstream, and I was catching like little smallmouth. And I was just using a Panther Martin.
This guy's a nice.
And I ended up at this really nice hole here. And this thing, I knew something bigger was
Their
after my
guidance.
lure. I saw something bigger was after my lure. And I'm like, man, that is not going to hit this little spinner. So I tied up my my crayfish jig and just let it hit the water, sink, and just kind of float down with that current. And it ended up working out really, really well. Once again, I think it was like my third fish that I caught here. I accidentally set my drag a little too tight, and the one smallmouth actually completely ripped me off and broke my hook off. So I do keep a little bit of a lighter set in my drag, which, you know, is what it is. But either way, beautiful smallmouth that we've got here. Incredibly happy with that. 20 fish on the day. I think I ended up at like 28 fish on the day.
See you, man.
But anyway, yeah, that was an awesome time had by all. All right, so there it was, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this format. I know I enjoyed doing this. This was fun to take a walk down memory lane of 2023. Get back and take a look at some of these videos and some of the clips from some of my more memorable catches of the year. So we're moving into 2024, and hopefully we're in for some more fish, some bigger fish, some better fish, hopefully some good fishing trips coming up this year, and we'll see where the next year takes us. Either way, I hope you guys comment down below. Let me know if you like this format, if you want to see more of this format. And if you don't like it, heck, throw a like or comment anyway, because why not? You already watched the video. Either way, we'll wrap this up here, and I hope everybody out there, best of luck to you. Keep tight lines, and remember, even Jesus had a fishing story.